Hello my friends, let's start this one from the front lines review. As usual, Ukraine is very active in Pokrovsk direction, but Russia tries to send some of the reinforcements, however, unsuccessfully. Let me show you one of the clips. This was filmed today by 155th Brigade. Russians are using small vehicles, like for example this one, that's the modification Russian-made of the Lada vehicle, and Russians recently started to use lots of those, despite snow, despite everything. But those are very light, and Russians do not hesitate to lose those together with the Russian soldiers. I mean, Russian commanders, they definitely do not care. So that's the Pokrovsk direction. We have also Niva vehicle. The army of the 21st century. There was the blinking low battery, I guess. Yeah, it means that our warriors operate on a very long distance. It is said here that Ukraine cancelled the Russian convoy in the southern part of Pokrovsk. And just to recall, the first time Putin said about encirclement of the Ukrainian army in Mirnograd and Pokrovsk, thousands of Ukrainians were trapped by the mighty Russian army. He even called for international reporters, journalists to come and see the encirclement of Ukrainians, but still Russians failed to establish their control over Pokrovsk and Mirnograd fully. And I say that mostly Russians are using all-terrain vehicles, but sometimes also tanks. This is T-80 tank that was hit by grenade drop. The rest of the vehicles are dedicated to Ladas, UAZ, and so on. So Ukraine really hits Russia hard, and Russians, well, they continue those attack attempts. In very rare case, they are successful, breaking or deviating behind Ukrainian defense lines, and later on they put their flags somewhere in a small village, but even there Ukraine goes on a counterattack. Like for example, recently it happened in one of the settlements of Zaporizhia Oblast. We have this info from the Mykov Center 3, so definitely it was confirmed that Priluki village was previously taken partially by Russians, and later on Ukraine sent some of the reinforcements and they put Russians from Ukrainian dugouts very successfully. But as for the hot direction, for example, of Pokrovsk, nothing special is happening for already several of the days, but we know that Russia concentrates its forces there. They send more reinforcements. Recently, Russia intensified their actions in Konstantinivka direction, trying to reach this settlement, but they have significant losses. They expanded mostly the gray area, but the fight for the settlement will happen probably in February, I mean fully. Then Russia will be able to advance with their main forces. For now, they do it, they try, but again, judging on the battlefield, they're failing each time so far. So we have the confirmation of the Russian tank that been lost, and what is very interesting about this one, it is kind of the unusual tank, was unusual tank. Yeah, I have to apply some of the censorship and look at this tank. Just look at this. What the hell is this? Like they put roughly, maybe even 8 feet of some construction. I guess this is T-72, a full type of the hangar tank, but why do they need this thing at the back? It just increases the total weight of the construction. Maybe they carried something from behind. What? Horses? Our analytics already show this kind of the construction. House and stairs and everything. Imagine how long this tank really is. I think it's maybe 12 meters, something like that. Well, it's the first time we see this kind of the unique piece of the equipment. Yeah, I really like this map because you can click absolutely everything and you have the link for the confirmation. I see that Russians also surrendered in Vovchi Yar, so they tried to go on infiltration attack, but were taken in prison by Ukrainian soldiers. Geolocation of Russians. Now I understand. I listened to this video. It's the phone of the captured Russian soldier. Captured, yes. Yeah, our guys didn't show those soldiers. They say they're surrendered. But what we have is this their phone with geolocation of how to move. And we have the evidence that Russians definitely propelled that forward that much. But just 2 of the soldiers and they were captured. But you know what? Russians are trying to regain the control over Kupiansk. They started several of the attack operations towards Tishinivka and towards Radkivka. Here Ukrainian drones did the job, putting Russian positions. Nevertheless, Russians, they do have 2 of the attack vectors here. One and the second one, but they have just limited forces, not enough to even propel towards Kupiansk itself. They want to cut this road for Ukrainian supplies, but Ukraine has secondary road over here, and also supplies go through Sobolivka, so they cannot cut really Ukrainian supplies for now. And again, it's just a small infiltration attack. Two of the attacks, as I mentioned, and one was definitely kaputted. But in general, there are not many changes happening on the front line. Russia was quite active previous months, but at the beginning of the year, maybe they consolidate their forces or they think how to act more effectively, because their goal is still Pokrovsk and Gulaipole and advance towards Zaporizhia. At least this is what Putin proclaims. During every sort of the interview meetings, he said about it. The Unit Observer Analytic tells that Russia sends some of the reinforcements towards Chasiv Yar. They definitely want to create the new clouds to attack Konstantinovka from two of the directions. Before, Russians were absolutely not capable, but now they want to upgrade their capabilities for attacks. So more Russian reinforcements are deploying into Donbass. The 136th Motor Rifle Brigade of the 58th Army has redeployed from Vovchansk to the Chasiv Yar areas. So after all, Russia doesn't want to take Vovchansk fully. Before they were successful in Vovchansk the last months, there were several of the attacks done by Russia, and Ukraine had to retreat from several of the blocks of the city. But now Russia takes those forces towards east. So Chasiv Yar area, it's not that profitable place for Russia because they failed with all of their attack attempts for the last year to advance from Chasiv Yar. And Chasiv Yar itself is like 9 kilometers away from Bakhmut. So for all of those years, if we definitely speak about the hotspots of the real Russian military action, Russia was the least successful in Chasiv Yar. Nevertheless, they want to reinforce it, so likely reinforcing replacement elements of 71st Motor Rifle Division that was exhausted, former 200th Brigade. So we have this new picture, which might tell us that Russia wants to definitely attack Ukrainian positions with a new force. Unit Observer on Twitter, I subscribe for him and for many more awesome analytics. And what is interesting is that tomorrow the Russian invasion of Ukraine will reach 1,418 days. Just imagine this huge number, the exact same number of the days as the German invasion of the Soviet Union, so-called Great Patriotic War, the end of which Russia celebrates every 9th of May. And their main saying of Russians that we can repeat. By saying that, they mean their victory. We can repeat our victory. But where is it? Where the hell is victory? Russia takes some of the villages. No any big town was occupied for the last year. Nothing. Just villages, small towns. In the times of the Second World War, it wouldn't be even in Soviet propaganda. They were telling about big cities, but not the small villages, come on. But now it's totally different. Russian generals have reported about occupation of those villages. Krasnovka, Zapadovka, Menikovka was occupied by mighty Russian army. Definitely we see the level of the degradation, but the losses for Russia are comparable to the losses of some of the big battles of the Second World War. 1 million losses per all of those days. Crazy. Well, not KA completely, but wounded personnel together with KA, yeah? And what we see, Russia still controls less of the ground compared to 2022. And the fun fact is here, half of the time of this great patriotic war for Russians, they spent retaking back the territories which they have lost in that 1 week of the September 2022. Then Ukraine went on the counteroffensive. Just imagine this. Plus the Kherson operation where Russia had to leave the biggest city. They managed to occupy without any active battle, but with the battle they had to retreat, saving themselves. And by the time Surovikin was the commander of the Russian army, or it's better to say the Special Military Operation Commander, yeah, Gerasimov still, the General Commander. Oh my god, what is this? This is the FPV drone, but the ground drone, you see? Unmanned Ground Vehicle, UGVs. Also, this is the fiber optic control drone. See, it goes for the very far distance. This coil could be 40 kilometers, easily. Well, they say that the range is 25 kilometers, the speed is 15 kilometers an hour, and it may carry 20 kilograms of the weight. That's quite a lot. So the anti-tank mine TM62 is quite easily being transported by this guy. Very good off-road capabilities. Ukraine so far is nailing those ground drone technologies compared to the Russian army. Outstanding. Well, in Russia they have their own drones. Yeah, I already showed you this video in my last update, but I just want to compare here. Russian technologies using some of the foreign components, I guess, and Ukrainian technologies. Different. There is the big difference. An interesting drone image here. Those are the African mercenaries who fight for the Russian army. Ukrainian drone was waiting for them probably to take the image. You know, our drone photographers, they're very talented. They may take the image from the close perspective, different poses, different actions. And this guy, he wasn't expecting that. I thought he had the stick, but he had a shovel, and he shows to Ukrainian drone operator, you see, I have the shovel, take the picture, take the pictures. So you see, our wedding and wildlife photographers, they are really professional. I suggest to change the optics for the camera for the better image quality, but overall I am very satisfied with this image. I think this guy is also satisfied since he is calm. Calmness is the sign of agreement. Oh, this night Ukraine again launched a strike on Russian territory. Several of the drones, also as a report, missiles. They were spotted already in Belgorod Oblast, and just recently Ukraine caused some of the blackouts on Russian bordering territories in Belgorod, mostly. 600,000 people are without electricity. That's simply the response of Ukraine on Russian strikes on Ukrainian territory. Yesterday night, there were also strikes on the capital city of Ukraine, Kiev. Oh, donkeys again! Come on, Russians! Oh, those are not Russians, those are Germans! German army is using... What are those, donkeys or moose, or what is this? Something between horse and donkey, yeah? With automatic rifle. Probably you don't see it, but it is out there. Not just one, but many of them. Some sort of the Jaeger brigade during the training mission. But how else can you move the equipment in those mountains? So animals are still in the modern armies of the world, because how else can you move that significant equipment? Those small trails and everything, all-terrain vehicles, they cannot pass through it, and they're very loud. Here it's kind of silent, they don't need fuel. So in some of the specific cases, animals could be used, but Russians are using them even for attacking operations, you know, cavalry with those horses on attack, straightforward, open field environment. It's not okay. But for supply missions with those donkeys, it is justifiable, let's say. Wow, what is this? Let's go to the international news. Oh, A-10 in action. A-10, freaking airplane. Awesome, fantastic one. F-15 as well. Yeah, they fly and target some of the objects in Syria. So all of those maneuvers were done, for now, not against Iranian regime, but to conduct some of the operations in Syria. The United States of America recently reinforced its presence in Syria, and also they perform more of the missions. Yeah, lots of the infrastructure was hit out there, and A-10 is still capable. It is still nice airplane. Why not to give it to Ukraine? This year, United States officials say that they will retire it, but you see that it flies on the missions. I think after all they'll have to return it back, because it cannot be replaced easily by those fast jet airplanes like F-15. The Iranian protests are still ongoing, and unfortunately Iran continued to use force against protesters. Donald Trump says that he might support those protesters. We'll see, the tensions are pretty much high, and protests little by little turning into the massive unrest and revolution of Iran. Before, for many of the decades, there were protests, but not as big as happening right now. Well, we'll see about the usage of the American or Israeli forces in Iran. I think it's kind of useless. Maybe only Maduro-like operations could be successful. I don't think that bombing some of the infrastructure or military objects of Iran may help protesters. I think it could be even harmful for those because Iran may say, oh, we are being attacked once again, we need to nail down all of the protesters and consolidate the forces against foreign forces, enemy USA, and so on. But if Khamenei himself gets extracted from Tehran to some of the prison of Tel Aviv, it would be fine for protesters. However, it is understandable that this kind of the operation would be very hard with Khamenei compared to Maduro, because Khamenei has more of this secret service apparatus and he is somewhere in a bunker. I wouldn't say it's not possible judging on what United States done in Venezuela, but it's way harder. We'll see what it might be very soon because tensions are rising in Iran. And tomorrow I'm gonna record a big video, outside, not in the studio, but I want to tell about the crisis of the Russian oil and how those Maduro operations, how the situation in Iran really affects Russia, Russian oil market and Russian economy. It's gonna be kind of the long video compared to this one, but I suggest you guys to watch, and thank you by the way for watching those videos as well. They're not that popular as the videos from my studio, but I want to film those as well. So 2 videos per day, one blah 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 video with the camera and the other one from the studio, general report, usual updates. That is how it will be, at least for now, on this channel. Hope you like it. Well, I like it. I need to go out from my cave to film those videos, so thank you so much for watching those as well. And my friends, thank you also for making my job possible with your support on Patreon. If you watch me on YouTube, you might also join membership of the channel by pressing join button somewhere below, and follow me also on Spotify. I have the link with description, and don't forget to press your huge like to this video, subscribe for the channel to boost this video in algorithms. Thank you so much for helping me here. You hired me for this job, and daily reports, daily updates, expect them always. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.